In this topic, we will cover organizational culture. Organizational culture is a system of shared values that distinguishes one organization from another. Research suggests 7 primary characteristics that together capture the essence of an organization's culture. The first is innovation and risk-taking, the degree to which employees are encouraged to be innovative and take risks. Google, if you've noticed, has an innovative culture. The second characteristic, attention to detail, is the degree to which employees are expected to exhibit precision, analysis, and attention to detail. Third is outcome orientation, which tells us whether management focuses on results or outcomes, rather than on the techniques and process used to achieve these ends. People orientation is the degree to which management takes into consideration the effect of decisions on people within the organization. The Southwest Airlines is famous for valuing its employees. Team orientation is the degree to which work activities are organized around teams rather than individuals. Aggressiveness is the degree to which people are aggressive and competitive rather than easygoing within the organization. Finally, stability is the degree to which organization activities emphasize maintaining the status quo in contrast to growth. Many government agencies focus on stability. A dominant culture expresses the core values shared by the majority of the organization's employees. Subculture tends to develop in large organizations to counteract common problems, situations, or experiences. In a strong culture, the organization's core values are intensely held and widely shared. The more members who accept the core values, the stronger the culture is. One specific outcome of strong culture is lower turnover, which means less people tend to leave the company. A strong organizational culture also increases behavioral consistency so it can substitute for formalization. Culture performs a number of functions within an organization. First, it has a boundary-defining role, creating a distinction between one organization and another. Second, it conveys a sense of identity for organization members. Third, culture makes it easy for organization's members to develop commitment. Fourth, it enhances the stability of the organization's social system. Culture is the social glue that bonds or holds the organization together by providing appropriate standards of behavior for its employees. Culture can also be a liability at times. How can that be? When the shared values are not in agreement with those that will further the organization's effectiveness, it can create a liability. A strong culture can also make it hard for members to fit in who are different in obvious ways such as race, gender, or disabilities. Finally, a strong culture can be a barrier for acquisition and mergers. So, how does culture begin? An organization's current customs, traditions, and way of doing things largely reflect what has been done before. The founders traditionally have a major impact on setting the culture. 3 forces play a major role in sustaining culture. These are selection process, top management actions, and how people are socialized. This is how new people who are coming into the organization are socialized. Finally, no matter how well the organization recruits and selects new employees, it must help them adapt to its culture. This adaptation process is known as socialization. Socialization has three stages. First is known as the pre-arrival stage. The encounter stage is second, and then the metamorphosis. How do organizations transmit their culture? Well, these are done by stories, rituals, material symbols, and of course, one employee telling the other what they've known and experienced. Here's one last point about culture. The context and strength of a team's culture influence the ethical behavior of its members. The organizational culture most likely to shape high ethical standards is one that is high in risk tolerance, low to moderate in aggressiveness, and focus on means as well as outcomes. What can managers do to create an ethical culture? They should be visible role models, communicate ethical expectations, provide ethical training, visibly reward ethical acts, and provide a safe forum for employees to discuss ongoing ethical dilemmas. Our next topic is that of organizational structure. The Ford Motor founders used the assembly line to build cars and made it rather famous. Rather than letting each person work from start to finish on one car, Ford had the idea to let each person become specialized in one small task performed over and over again, splitting up the work to get the job done. While that method was revolutionary in its time, for us it is now routine. In today's organization, the organization structure describes how jobs are done and are formally divided, grouped, and coordinated. Managers typically address 6 key elements when they design their organizational structure: work specialization, departmentalization, chain of command, span of control, centralization, and formalization. Chain of command is an unbroken line of authority that extends from the top of an organization to the lowest level and clarifies who reports to whom. The unity of command states that a worker should have only one person to whom he should report. As you might imagine, in organizations today, due to the influence of technology, the influence of teams, and the push to empower employees, these concepts are less commonly followed than they were in the past. How many employees can a manager effectively manage? Defining a manager's span of control is very important because it is one of the reasons an organization has the number of levels and managers in it. Having large number of employees to report to one manager may be cost effective for a while, but managers will be spread too thin and become less effective as time goes on. In some organizations, top managers make all the decisions. This is an example of a centralized organization. At the other extreme, there are organizations in which decision-making is pushed down to the managers closest to the action. This is known as decentralized organization. The simple structure is an organization with a low degree of departmentalization, a wide span of control, authority centralized in one single person, and little formalization. It's a flat organization, usually with only 2 or 3 vertical levels, a loose-knit body of employees, and one individual in whom the decision-making authority is centralized. The strength of a simple structure is that it can be fast to make decisions, simple and inexpensive to maintain. However, it is hard to grow this type of organization as the size increases. Decision making eventually becomes slower and can eventually come to a standstill if the person maintaining control does not allow some flexibility and redesign. It's also risky because the organization typically depends on one person's motivation, health, and expertise. So when the person dies or moves over or is incapable, the organization dies with him. The next organization type is that of a bureaucracy. This bureaucracy is characterized by highly routine operating tasks achieved through specialization and rules. Very highly formalized. The third type of structure that we will discuss is known as the matrix structure. You will find this concept used in hospitals, universities. Essentially, the matrix combines two forms of departmentalization: functional and product. The strength of functional departmentalization is that it puts specialists together who can pool and share resources and ideas. But it can be difficult to manage. The matrix structure breaks the unity of command principle because there are two bosses, the head of the functional area and the head of the product area. Therefore, in the matrix structure, you will find you're not reporting to just one person, but usually to two people. In the last 10 to 15 years, 3 new structural designs have emerged. The team structure relies on the team as a central coordination device. The team structure requires employees to be generalist as well as specialist. The virtual structure is typically a small core organization that outsources major business functions. The virtual organization is highly centralized with little or no departmentalization. Finally, Jack Welch, the GE's former chairman, wanted his $135 billion company to become more like a grocery store by eliminating vertical and horizontal boundaries as well as external barriers between company and its customers. He wanted to create a boundaryless organization where employees, customers, managers, staff, and executives can talk to each other as needed and when needed. So why do organizations differ in their structure? One reason is their strategy. If an organization is engaged in an innovation strategy, for instance, a bureaucracy won't help achieve those goals. If it's engaged in a cost minimization strategy, bureaucracy might be helpful because it will provide the framework for employees to follow the rules and repeat the process. Organizations also differ on the basis of their size, technology, and industry environment. Designing the right structure is the key to success in every organization. When starting a company, most founders often start with a very simple structure. When growing pains begin to engulf the organization, you may find that an external consultant with knowledge of organizational design can be a huge help in helping you transform a simple structure into incorporating the future growth and strategies for the new structure.